anybody have any good news? I missed you guys last week. So I might have missed some good news from last week. Tell me the good stuff.
Well, the PPP finally got extended. They changed that. It's still a moving target, but it's been extended in terms of the time frame within which you have to spend it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've given a little more guidelines on how it breaks out. They changed the threshold from 75% to 60% on the threshold being spent on payroll,
Mm-hmm.
among other things. And I understand there may be some more technical changes to it. So at least the recommendations we got from our CPAs is just hold off, because if it changes, there may be, and we have a longer time to spend it, you may be able to get some tax advantage essentially out of some of it, depending on what they classify for us. So we may actually, for example, payroll taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. So that was good.
Yeah, that is good news. Relieves a little bit of the pressure valve for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Anybody else good news?
I did a mediation last Thursday, which is why I couldn't join you good people, but we started at 9:30. We ended at 7 p.m.
Wow.
It's a long day to be staring at a Zoom screen.
Yeah.
And but we got it done. Serious case, really big dollars, and 7 lawyers.
Wow.
Yeah. I was exhausted.
Are they doing in-person mediations now, Kim, or no, not yet?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I kind of wondered, especially for smaller mediation where you're only dealing with maybe a couple people, if they would do a big conference room distanced in-person thing or not. I mean, are there implications for that, of course?
I was in the office. I was part of the A group last week, and this week I'm at home, and it was interesting. It all went well, even though we have 18 floors and only 2 people are allowed in the elevator. On Thursday, we had over the loudspeaker notification that a fire was in the building and that we all had to go to the stairwells and go out of the building, and I'm on the 18th floor. So you're all wearing your mask, you're going down the stairwell, and with all the protests going on and all, obviously we all took this very serious because they said there was a fire in the building, a PNC building. Well, no fire, but until we obviously got down there, even though the fire trucks were there. So what was the good news was I wasn't as worried about climbing down. It was trying to make it back up, not 18 flights, but get on the elevator and waiting for an elevator. But they had stickers in the lobby, and you stand on a sticker, and then you get in a line, and then in the elevator, there's 2 stickers in 2 corners. But because there wasn't any people in the building, it was easy to go up. I was with a lawyer from another firm that was on the other corner, but that was interesting. But I did get in the elevator one time, and one woman, I kid you not, was wearing her mask, and her nose was in the corner, like she didn't even want to look at me, worried that I'd breathe. It was interesting, though.
That is interesting. I in my loft building here, the elevators are, there's no requirements, but there's a sign outside the elevator that says, to comply with social distancing, please consider taking the stairs, right? I mean, it's a 5-story building. So if you're on 2 or 3, I take the stairs a lot anyway. I'm on 3.
Yeah.
But, obviously if you got arms full of groceries or bags because you're shopping or whatever. And it has been interesting to me to watch the number of people that you're kind of doing this dance, right? Are you comfortable with me coming on with you on the elevator? Or I can wait, most people have been like, oh yeah, just come on, but I've got 4 kids. So when I have, the kids with me, I always just hold off, right? I always just hold off because you can't socially distance 5, 6 people in an elevator. That's not a very big elevator, but that's been kind of interesting. I was experiencing the dance just walking to and from the office, right? When you're trying to you're getting ready to pass someone and you're trying to get over, but there's not enough room to get over. And so you go across the street. I keep saying I want to do a TikTok about the pandemic polka or something. That's like this dance of, respecting people's space, but getting to where you need to go. And it's been, I think it's been lovely during this time witnessing the good hearted people and good nature of people and trying to all get through this the best we can, right? My good news actually is I'm traveling on Sunday to Bloomington, Illinois. I have a new client there, which is exciting. I might have shared that already, but doing an in-person strategic plan for the first time in months, so I'm looking forward to it. Actually, we'll be in kind of a big conference room and keeping our distance as best as possible, but I'm looking forward to that. I really love strategic planning. So that's the piece of one of the things that I love to do the most. So it's exciting to kind of be in that context. And 18 lawyer firms, it's a good size firm, 7 equity partners. So it's it'll be interesting. It's 2 full days, and I'm excited to be back in the saddle, so to speak, on the strategic planning, and being in person will be nice too. Anybody else good things before we jump in? Today we really wanted to focus on marketing in the new normal, and I think marketing, not just marketing, but business development. And I know we're probably all tired of maybe hearing those catchphrases, the new normal. COVID is now it's impacting the way we do everything, right? We know it's impacting the way we do everything. So we have to adjust and figure out, how does this look different? And some things completely won't change, and some things will completely change. I spoke on a panel for a committee of the ABA maybe a month or so ago. And there were like 75 people on this Zoom. There's a lot of people on this Zoom from across the country. And we were broaching this subject, right? How do we market during this time and now after this time in a way that's effective, but not just continuing forward the way we've done everything? So, I have my thoughts, and, I'll share with you all my thoughts I shared with that group. I like to know, what are you guys doing differently? How are you approaching marketing differently today than you were 4 months ago, or biz dev in general? Anyone?
I'll go ahead and speak up here as legal back office. I feel like, especially with these meetings, you see people being a lot more personal or sharing a lot more, being a lot more vulnerable about where they are at with their business, or where they're at, a lot of shares of, here's my messy home office with a cat somewhere in the corner. I'm sure all of you have met my cat Ginger by now. So I've noticed that trend not only in these meeting-like spaces, but in the marketing, spectrum as well, seeing a lot more vulnerable blogs being written by business owners. So yeah.
For sure. Mike, did you want to jump in with anything or no? I just noticed you unmuted.
I was going to say, I don't know that I've changed anything. As Sarah just said, it's about making that personal connection with whoever your target is. So I think maybe COVID's made that easier for people. But in terms of actual principles, I don't know that much has actually changed.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair point. I think a couple of things I'll share with you guys here in just a few minutes are around that fact. I think that COVID caused some people to change the way they were doing things when they shouldn't have, to be frank. It created kind of a fear or grasping at straws approach to marketing that then probably backfired somewhat. So I think that's a fair point. There are certain things you just don't change just because of change, right? And make sure you're being thoughtful about that.
I would say that for me, for business development, 2 things that have changed since the beginning of COVID. And now one is when I'm doing group Zooms with our firm and another partner, a lot more facilitation, and I think people appreciate it. I was on a call yesterday, and you have to really facilitate so everybody has an opportunity to speak up, introduce, talk about what the issues are with their clients. So like you're doing today, Jamie, early on, it was kind of a free-for-all. And so now I think I'm definitely, whenever I have any of those calls with partners where we have more than 5 or 6 people on the call, facilitating so people can be heard. I think that's one. 2, I would say is I personally and people I know in business development aren't going on as many webinars unless they're interactive. Because there's only so many hours in the day. And yes, we all want to continue to learn and grasp more information. But at the same time, especially if you're in business development or marketing, you want to make sure it's interactive. So it's not that I don't avoid webinars that are not interactive. I just think that's important that you do that. And then I think third is I think I've convinced the people who kept saying, let's wait to do it in person, that in person may not happen. And I'm not talking about one-on-ones, I'm talking more groups. And so I've convinced some individuals that, hey, look, it may be a couple of months before we're doing any group mixers, things of that nature. So we might want to rethink about doing it online. And I tell them how it's worked in the past for me, and it can work, and we can keep it within an hour, and we can make it interactive. So those are the 3 things, at least for me in business development, a little bit larger firm that I've done differently from not prior COVID, but the start of COVID.
Yep, that's great. Thanks for that, Chris.
Yeah, it really hasn't changed for us either. As Mike said, we're continuing to do it, at least from what I can tell. The sources of client sources have not changed, and we're not doing anything different. Granted, we're still trying to figure some of it out, and I'm sure we'll take a look at it at some point. But right now we're not doing anything differently.
I thought I would share, make me log in, my screen with you all and show you this resource, and we'll get it posted too, that I created for that ABA panel. Dual authentication drives me crazy. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then I mean, this is Adobe, for Christ's sake. It's like literally every time I try to open a PDF document, it wants me to do a dual authentication and send me a code. Like, it's Adobe. It's a PDF I'm trying to open. Come on, Adobe. So these are just I'll share this with you all, but I'll share my quick tips here is that I like if we're doing biz dev and marketing through a new normal, people feel like they have to change. And my message is, don't be weird. Like, in a new normal means you don't become not normal, right? I mean, it's amazing how if you stick to your core values and your services and your model as a business, I think trying to embrace new values, it's just so inauthentic. Like, all of a sudden, I have this example. I saw this firm using social media ads for doing bankruptcy during a pandemic. And I click on the ad and I go to their website, nothing about bankruptcy on their website. So they didn't do bankruptcy before a pandemic. Now we're in a pandemic, a bunch of people lose their jobs, and they think, ooh, this is a good idea. I'm gonna now start offering bankruptcy, even though it's not on my website, it's not my core offering, it's not what I do. If any of you on the call did that, I'm sorry, but that's a terrible idea. Because now the public view of lawyers is already abysmal anyway. I mean, you guys know the statistics, right? This isn't just subjective. The ABA did this study, and like 50% of all Americans think we need fewer lawyers in our country. And like 60% of them think lawyers only care about money and not about their clients. So, they're not good statistics. And it's that sort of, I think, advertising that perpetuates the feeling that lawyers only care about money. Well, I don't have bankruptcy as an offering, but now I'm going to capitalize on this bad social situation to gain something in return. One of the things that we really did, and I think is good if you can do it is, I had to face our model is that we're a business partner. We're not just an outsourced bookkeeper, right? So if our clients thought they were going to have a cash issue and needed to try to reduce the scope of the work that we do for them because they just needed to pay less, that would be going against our model, because our model as a business partner will first full service accounting. So if they are going through a difficult financial time, the last thing we need to do is do like just their bookkeeping and not full service accounting, right? It's doing them a disjustice. I know not everyone can do that, but I just started thinking through, sticking to our mission and values, can we finish out projects, right, with the same integrity and work ethic as we had before? And I'll tie it into marketing in a second, because how we work with our clients today is going to exponentially impact how they refer us in the future, right? So that's an important part of that biz dev process and that marketing process is our referral base today, our clients today, how we're treating them is also really critical to, them bringing us more business in the future. So I also think messaging is really, so I broke this into 3: mission, messaging, and measurement. And the messaging speaks a little bit to, all of a sudden now you guys have seen the estate planning social media ads, I'm sure, because you've probably been targeted. Have you seen Will and Trust? Has Will and Trust shown up in your social media feed? Go look at it. They've got some savvy, hip looking ads, but they've been getting pummeled because people are commenting on their ads. Oh, way to be capitalizing on people's fear of death, right? They're showing pictures of these cute looking kids and babies. And if that same advertising and messaging had been done 6 months ago, people would have been like, oh, that's cute. That's good advertising. I'm going to check that out. Now it's like, oh, let's put these kids out in front of you in the middle of a pandemic in which people are already fearful about what's going to happen with their health. And use like fear-based advertising to try to get more business. So, my message is how important the message is of what you offer and how you offer it. And, I think it's important that we maintain consistency and continue our same approach, but we just offer it through different avenues. Like Chris was talking about, don't just not do engagements, right? Don't just, if you used to go to coffee, lunch, and happy hour, it's not to say, oh, well, I'm just not going to do that at all. And woe is me, I'm a victim. And because I can't engage or interact with people, set up the video calls and have people get their coffee or have wine delivered to them. I think Chris gave us that idea one time. So one of our clients, we've already talked about, Marlar Law, did the 100 free wills for Goodwill and grocery delivery. Stock Legal did 15-minute free calls with all clients and any business owner. And I thought that was.
Hey, Jamie, how did it go? I know we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, that they were going to offer the wills or offer the 15-minute. I'm curious, did a lot of people take them up on it, and how did it go?
They thought they would get more of the 100 wills. They ended up doing 40 though. Like, that's a decent amount of wills.
That's
They
good.
did for free, and the people that they did them for were incredibly grateful. The 15-minute free calls from Stock Legal, I'm going to text her right now and ask her how many she ended up doing, because I don't actually know the answer to that.
Well, maybe while you're doing that, I'd love to hear from the lawyers on the call. If I offered something similar, a 15-minute free, how do you do mediation virtually? Do you think that's something people would be interested in? Would I be inundated? Because I can't be inundated, or at least I couldn't do 100 of them, but I could do 10, I could do 20. What do you think? Or am I sort of behind the curve? That's already happened.
I can tell you that our experience, certainly with the Illinois State Bar Association, has put out a couple of products on not mediations, but court proceedings, and it's been very well received. They've been viewed, because I'm deeply involved in the CLE. I've seen the numbers on it, and it's been very, very well received. So I would think it would be, and certainly people like short, as well.
Instead of doing calls, Kim, we could do a live webinar that we record and then you put it out there too.
Well, but kind of getting to what Chris said earlier, I'm a little more interested in something live versus,
The engagement, yeah.
yeah, something that's engaging.
I
I
just
found
think
with
the live webinar, the live Zoom, that people could ask questions, but you're not scheduling 10 different 15-minute calls. You're doing a 30
Yeah.
people.
I tell you, one thing that's happening with us using Zoom is, depending on the device people are using, I mean, it varies, as you guys know, it varies. So it's hard to tell someone, oh, go to the upper right-hand corner, when if they're on their phone, there's no button on the upper right-hand corner.
Yep. Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I used your, Chris, I used your make your lonely client your connected client right here.
I stole that too, so don't feel bad, Jamie.
Okay, cool. I stole it from you. You stole it from somebody else. Perfect. Another thing that Marler Law has done with their current clients, which has actually gotten raving reviews, is this In the Know program, where they're actually pre-scheduling client check-in calls at a frequency that's using a little bit of judgment. But what was happening was they were getting inundated with the clients, reaching out when they were in the middle of something or busy with something, wanting an update. You guys know how it is, right? The client reaches out when they want an update, when they're thinking about it. So to try to cut down on those unexpected communications and keep timely responses, they created this program where when they sign up a new client, they automatically schedule weekly calls with the client. And if it gets, and they bill for it, right? They bill for it, or every other week calls. So then what's happened is the client is not reaching out because they know they've already got the meeting, right? So they're not emailing them asking for an update because they know they're meeting with them in 3 days or 4 days. So it's given them more predictability of client communications, but because clients have been more frantic during this time, right? That's where it's kind of come from a little bit more frantic about cash, a little bit more frantic about their case. Especially in the family law area, there's been lots of interesting things with custody and what do you do when parents disagree about masks or no masks, or being in the public, not being in the public. So they had to get control over that, but they didn't want their clients, to still feel good about it, right? So they get to bill for it. If it gets canceled, it gets canceled. They don't bill for it. No big deal. But I thought that was a really good idea too, of how they were able to, and that's more current client communication, right, than it is marketing. But the making your lonely client your connected client, they went back to at all their current open clients, not just new clients, to reach out to them and try to set something up in a more recurring way. And at some point in the client's case, it may not be that frequent. It might not be every week, but it's really been beneficial for them. So the other thing I pointed out was measurement, because when your phone's not ringing anymore, you can't just be measuring the number of calls that you're getting. And I think client development too, right? We have to be realistic about what are we measuring. And if we know we're not getting phone calls, let's not panic. If we know we're not retaining clients, let's not panic. But how can we measure what our marketing efforts are in a different way? And so I just put some ideas on here, because if you sit back and you do nothing, actually, bar associations are a really good example of this. Some bar associations have really leaned into this time. I would say like BAMSOL has really leaned into this time and continued to offer virtual educations, virtual engagement, still putting out content, still staying connected, still driving activity, right? Some bar associations, like the Springfield, Missouri bar, they just shut down. literally just shut down. And the long-term impact to shutting down now, or not really shutting down, but not really engaging and just kind of waiting it out, right? That's what they're doing, is people are waiting it out. And I'm not throwing shade at the Springfield bar. I could have the facts a little bit wrong, but when you wait it out, now you're not staying engaged with people, and they're more likely to cancel their membership, especially if it's optional, right? And they're low on cash. But if you added value and continue to add value during this time, they're even more so going to want to stay connected with you. So measuring engagement is something that you can do, I think, pretty easily if you're active on social media and active digitally, or measuring, interactions with people on Zoom, setting up Zoom calls, website and social traffic, and also exposure. It's amazing how many podcasters and bloggers, if you just reach out to them and just offer to be on their show, they'll usually say yes, because they're just trying to get content. So I think that's another idea of how you can market differently, is more that outbound looking for opportunity instead of just waiting for opportunity to come. And I was surprised, some of the things, the grocery delivery ended up getting picked up by the local news in Southern Missouri for Marler Law. And that was huge for them. They didn't do it for that purpose, but it was huge. And I started thinking about too, how many calls are you having with clients, even if they're non-billable, like that as the engagement, right? Measure engagement by how many calls or how many non-billable hours are you spending talking to clients during this time. And pushing out, I think, content and emails and giving people advice too, and seeing, how many people are responding and how many people are reading what I'm putting out there. So I just wanted to encourage everyone, as you're thinking about marketing, I think measurement is so important, but to not get discouraged if the phone is not ringing as much, and not create that frantic, response, because I think there are a lot of other ways to measure engagement. So I'll post this if it's, helpful for anyone. But ultimately, I think my message was very similar to what Mike was saying, was don't feel like you have to change, right? I mean, yes, we have to change by being on Zoom versus being in person, but if you stick to your values and you just don't be weird, just be normal, keep doing things the way you were doing them for the most part, it's going to serve you better in the long run. So I just thought I would share that with everyone. If there's some helpful tips there, great. But if not, that's okay too.
Good. But, Jamie and Sarah could probably help you out. Some suggestions of, again, I'm passing on ideas people have given to me.
Yeah.
I think Jamie and team could help implement, but there's two tools out there. One is called Vidyard, VIDYARD, and all the attorneys that are on, you all present very well on camera. It's a simple way to videotape free yourself and send out a message. And you might want to test it, and obviously work with Jamie and team or whoever to make sure your message is right. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's called Vidyard, VIDYARD. And again, it's an easy way. You sit in front of your laptop or iPad, you videotape a message, and you can see it right away, and you take the link and you send it out. It's pretty cool. It's free. The other one is, Kim, you were talking about interactive. There's Jamie, help me out. I think it's Menti, MENTI, that allows you to do polling during your presentation. And we all know people want to know what's on everybody else's mind. We're always interested, even before COVID. You want to know what your peers, what other business owners, what's everybody thinking? And it's a good way, without people raising their hand and telling you what it is, to be able to have them interact. And I've been on a couple calls, they've used that technology, and it's pretty easy as well.
And
so go ahead.
No, that's good feedback. You can do polling in Zoom as well, Chris.
Yep.
So
Jamie, I think though, to do polling in Zoom, you have to have the next level up, the Zoom webinar. I don't think if you have Zoom Pro, you can do polling.
yeah, you can. You just have to turn it on.
Oh, you can. So Zoom Pro, you can do polling.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it with my account and I have Zoom Pro.
Okay.
You just have to make sure that the feature is turned on.
Right. Okay. I'm going to check that out.
I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong, but I know I've done it before on mine.
Mhm. You should try it. Poll us right now.
I don't think I have the feature turned on because I was just looking for it. Yeah, I needed to go back and turn it on because some things you can only do in the web, like your web account. You can't actually do it from the program itself.
Yes.
Now you have me second guessing myself.
That's all right.
I'll double
Next week.
yeah, I'll double check it. So that's good. Menti and Vidyard. Good tools. Any other tools or anything that anybody else wanted to share?
I was kind of curious, just, I know we work with some people on this call, but not everyone. Has anyone's firms, I guess, been more active on social media or been using it in a different way, whether or not to promote these webinars or other events that you've been having? Just kind of curious to see what some of the other firms out there are doing.
I was just say, I don't think I've seen, I follow a lot of firms and I don't think I've seen an increase I haven't seen an increase in actual posts in trying to engage. I've seen an increase in ads. And
Yeah.
I think the increase in ads is potentially, especially if not done well, will do the opposite of the intent. It'll push people away from the, engaging with the firm than trying to draw them in. Because, throwing ads out there is, I think, a frantic response to what you think might happen with your business, instead of more authentic engaging with people. I'm going to be on a soapbox for just 1 second. There's this one firm I'm not going to say the name, that's been pushing out a lot of video content on social media. And not everyone has a face for video, guys. Right?
Jamie. At the Missouri School of Journalism, we'd call that you have a face for radio.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a voice for radio. I have like kind of this high pitched voice, like, that's why I'm like not sure that I sound that great on like our podcasts that we're launching. But I'm just saying, if you have RBF, right? If you have a resting bitch face, and when you communicate, you always look angry, you should not be pushing out video content with your angry face. You're hurting your brand. You're losing the credibility you think you're gaining. You're just pushing it out because algorithms or some marketing person told you need to produce video content. Now, some people would disagree with that. Gary Vaynerchuk is, huge within business and marketing in general. And he says, push out content. And I know, there are certain groups that will say, just be authentic, be you, push out content. I totally am all about being authentic and being you and representing your firm. I'm saying if you don't translate well on video and you look angry the whole time, you're not going to draw people in. Get someone else within your firm maybe that can translate better or communicate well. Just think about it. If you would never ask a non-lawyer to do your lawyer work, right? Because they don't have that skill or experience or know what they're doing. So if you don't have skill or experience or a face for video, find somebody else who does. Is that mean? Is that rude? I don't know. I keep seeing this content and I'm like, oh God, it's happening again. This, all this content is coming out from this firm and none of it's very good. I think it's off-putting. It's none of you. Any other thoughts or anything anyone wanted to share? Do you have anyone have any jokes that you've prepared or memes or limericks or encouragement?
Jamie, I'm about to email you a draft of this templated content that'll come out with our blog
Oh.
resources. Actually, it might be easiest if you go into our marketing folder.
I forgot I meant to mention that to everyone. We drafted a whole month's worth of social media content for the month of July that we're going to push out there for free for anybody who wants to use it. You can just copy and paste and use the images and customize them for yourself.
So if you go through, I think the pages will be, I'm still writing the copy, but there is July 2020 template in our marketing content calendar folder.
Okay.
Or it'd be easier if I just emailed it.
We'll get it out to everybody.
Okay.
I just pulled it up, but we just thought, you know what, for firms that aren't active on social media, because, you know, it's hard to find the time. But social media, and I'll say just online digital engagement is really important for any business today. Probably most of the people on this call would agree with that. But we were like, how about we create a whole month's worth of content for people so they don't have to think about it. So we'll push that out to everybody, and you're welcome to customize it and use it or not use it.
I've had most, the examples I have are LBO branded, but then I have some that are kind of just nondescript colors, and then you can also use and upload the background I have to this tool called Canva and brand it yourself, add on your logo, change up the text if you'd like. So I'll have instructions in that calendar on the tools that I use to create the images if you want to rebrand them for yourselves. And then also have content and, you know, hashtags that you should use on certain platforms and ways to get boosted a little bit more.
Awesome. Sorry, I totally jumped the gun. Anybody encouraging words or?
Jamie,
Yes.
this is Jeff Button. Sorry I jumped on late.
You're good.
So what I thought when I saw the topic was the saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a niche and it's working, don't let a crisis, a perceived crisis and media hype change your niche.
Yep.
Stick with it and just work it and just adjust. So my calls went down about 50%, but in May and June, they've come back with a vengeance. They're making up for the April. And so I just figured people who are looking for Veterans Law Services just thought everybody was closed.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't, but I can't control whether they think we're closed or not. We were open. So things are still going good. But I think that's the thing that I thought of is just stick with what you know.
Yeah.
And use some of these tools. But I posted a couple of podcasts that talk about video and audio quality. And I'll give an example. I'm in a not-for-profit group, and they had a podcast yesterday. So they don't do a lot of podcasts. They are an older group that the average age is 75. And they had a webinar on racism. Oh my gosh, they had a few technical problems. You thought this Christian group, they just complained mightily about the technology. It was
Oh, that's not good.
shocking. It was shocking. Now, was it good? No. Was it the worst Zoom call that I'd been on? No, not by far. So I do think having your audio and visual, and from what I've read from multiple sources, if you have to choose between video and audio, make sure the audio is great. That's what people, they'll deal with pictures that are, they will not deal with audio that's bad.
Yep.
And that was what happened yesterday. We had somebody with not enough bandwidth on their phone, and they kept phasing in and phasing out.
Well, you know, you bring up a good point. I coordinated a call and that happened. And finally, somebody on the call was smart enough to yell, hey, just get on your cell phone. And once they got the audio, even though the PowerPoint slides were not advancing, you're exactly right. People said once he was on the call, it made it so much better.
Yep. Well, because you have a message, right? And if you can't get the message because it's constantly cutting in and out, then it's just a waste of everyone's time.
Well, and I think there's such a variety of content out there. I mean, as long as you're looking at a screen, you want to hear something that's high quality. If not, you know, you get out of there and go to something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping in, Jeff. That's really good feedback. Well, I thought I would just leave everyone maybe with, instead of doing something funny, maybe we could just do something a little bit encouraging. And maybe you all do this on a regular basis, but I've been doing this more over the last couple of weeks, that every single day, throughout the day, but I make sure I don't skip a day, I define out loud the win for the day. What did I win today? Because there's, lots of uncertainty still. I mean, there's still uncertainty, even though it seems like, things are kind of opening up and loosening up. There's, a lot of other things going on in our country. And it's easy to feel down, I think, still, and easy to wonder, or get overwhelmed by now the work that maybe slowed is now just crazy. So every single day I've been taking time to say out loud to someone else, or even just to myself, but saying it out loud I think is important. What was the win for today? What did I win today? And that's been incredibly helpful for me to not get stuck in the questions and or concerns or fears or just uncertainty. And even in those days when I'm overwhelmed because I've got more work than I can get done in a day, instead of feeling overwhelmed, I'm just going to figure out, okay, what did I win today? So I'll leave everyone with that. And so grateful for you all. I hope you have a
Thank you, Jamie.
Right. Have a good day.
Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
Jamie. Have a great week. Enjoy your weekend.